Good morning, William Jewell College. My name is Craig Walls, and I live just over the hill over there with my family, including the president of the college, Elizabeth MacLeod Walls. We live just a stone's throw away from where I'm standing here in the cemetery on the top of the hill at the college. And I know it's a little weird that I'm standing here in a cemetery early in the morning, but this is exactly where Easter began, in a graveyard not all that different from this one. And while none of us can be in a church on Easter Sunday this year, which feels really awkward to me as an old pastor, so I figured this is probably the next best place to share Easter Sunday. Here is how John begins the Easter story in his words in the Gospel of John. He says, early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. That's how Easter began. That's how the third day began, with Mary in the dark heading out to the graveyard to be near Jesus. Now, we don't know why she went. The Gospels don't tell us. I suspect she went because in her deep grief, she didn't know what else to do. What do you do when all your hopes and dreams have died, when the pain that you're experiencing feels unbearable, when hurt and sorrow and death have won the day? I think you do what Mary does. You get up while it's still dark and you head to the one who promised that this would not be the end, that this is not the way that it would turn out, that light and life and hope and faith and love, that those were the things that would endure and carry the day. What strikes me about Easter, about the passage, is the phrase, well, while it was still dark. While darkness hovered over the world, there was still something deep within Mary that said, go be near Jesus. There was something deep within her, even in the worst of darknesses of death, that said, this isn't going to be the way it ends. That this was not going to be the end of the story. That the last word, that the final note had yet to be played. That somehow, some way, life would carry the day. So Mary, even while it was still dark, literally and figuratively, she went to the tomb. This morning, as I record this here at William Jewell, our world is currently, as everyone knows, in the grip of darkness and death. It surrounds us. Tens of thousands of people are dying in our country alone, not to mention the rest of the world. Our whole world is gripped by this. People are dying alone without loved ones, and we all wait helplessly for signs that it will let up, that death might loosen its grip just a little bit. But it's still dark outside, and yet it's also Easter, and life is springing with new life and spring all around us. And Easter begins here in a graveyard just like this, at first light, and we can't lose sight of that. One of my favorite authors, Frederick Buechner, says it this way. I love what he says. He says, resurrection means that the worst thing is never the last thing. The worst thing is never the last thing. I believe Mary went to the tomb on Easter Sunday because deep down she knew that death, while it was the worst thing, that somehow, some way, it was not going to be the last thing. That Easter was going to have a surprise ending. That Easter was going to speak an eternal truth, a truth that enables us to endure moments like the one we're enduring right now. The truth that says, yes, life is tragic, and that evil sometimes carries the day, that death has on occasion run up the score. The Easter truth is that while it's still dark, that the stone has been rolled away and that the tomb is empty, that as the angel says, he is not here, he is alive. Easter proclaims that Jesus didn't stay dead, that he refused to bow to death, that for all its might, the mighty Roman Empire couldn't keep him dead, that power, as Jesus had taught, was made perfect in weakness, that death had lost its sting, that things like liars and cheaters and dictators and perpetrators and, yes, viruses, they don't really win. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Easter is the promise that life wins and light wins and goodness wins always and forever. I think that's why Mary went to the graveyard, just like the one here on the hill, on the campus of William Jewell College, while it was still dark, on the first day of the week, on Easter. I'd like to wish you and your family and the entire college community, from students and staff and alumni, a happy Easter from here on the hill.